Mr. Irrelevant no more. He got his payday and earned every penny. Since Brock Purdy became the starter in Week 14 of the 2022 season, he has the third best total QBR in the league, trailing only the last two MVP winners, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. 2022 MVP Patrick Mahomes ranks fourth, followed by Joe Burrow, who led the league in yards and touchdowns in 2024. So, Peter, you see those numbers from Brock Purdy since taking that starting spot. What would be your message to people still questioning this contract?
Well, I would first compliment not only Brock Purdy, but the agent. This is a great deal. $55 million average per year in new money through the first 3 years. That's 62% of the total contract. Rolling guarantees through 2029 of $181 million guaranteed. It's a great deal, and yet it didn't break the back of the 49ers, and it didn't drag on until training camp. If you look at this 49ers team, they've had contract issues with players over the years that it goes right up until training camp, and it is a harrowing summer for not only the fans, but for the organization, and as every dollar is counted. In this one, Purdy's agent, Kyle Strongen, met with them in Santa Clara, met with them in Indianapolis at the Combine, called them up, said, hey, can we get a no-trade clause in there? The Niners have never done that. They said yes. They bent on that. There was a lot of give and take, but this doesn't reset the market. It doesn't necessarily blow anyone's hair back where they can't sign any new players. And for Brock Purdy, he's earned every penny of it, and he's the quarterback moving forward without any drama and any hysterics that are going to drag in all summer. I would have to think that peace of mind is almost worth getting it done now for that number than dragging this on an entire year and making this a issue on NFL Live every single day up until training camp.
I think it was a really fair deal for what he's accomplished, and particularly what he did last year. This is a 49ers offense that lost their number one wide receiver, Brandon Ayuk, for much of the season. Their number one running back, Christian McCaffrey, for much of the season. Trent Williams, their stalwart left tackle, missed close to half of the season, frankly, by the end of it. But contrary to how a lot of people think about this Niners team, they were passing at a really high level, 10th highest pass rate over expected in football. And yet, amidst all of this, I thought he played really good ball. You know, it was up and down a little bit, and one could hardly blame him given the circumstances. But I think it was really impressive. He showed why he has transcended other quarterbacks who have played in Kyle Shanahan's offense as a playmaker with his legs, throwing on the move, scrambling, evading pressure. So, yeah, Brock Purdy certainly deserving. All of that said, I am a little bit concerned about the lack of investment in the offensive line this year moving forward. You know, you got to make tough decisions when you pay quarterbacks this kind of money, and that is the one area where I feel the Niners have scrimped, and I have concerns because now that they're paying him all this money, they got to protect him.
Look, I think when you look at this, I think there's this hesitation sometimes when guys come into the league as not early round picks and they produce at a high level. Oh, does it make sense to pay them on par with the guys that are making the most at their position throughout the league? And so you just look at what happened with Kirk Cousins. You look at what happened with Dak Prescott. Like, there's been this reluctance to reward guys when they've been the biggest bargain in the National Football League for certain areas of time. That's been Brock Purdy. And so when you look at what happened with Washington, they'd have been better served investing in Kirk Cousins. You look at the Dallas Cowboys, they would have been better served to reward Dak Prescott when everyone in the league knew that he could play rather than dragging it out. And I think for the 49ers to look at it, go, yeah, look, this is a lot of money. To Peter's point, when you talk about $55 million, when talking to average per year, especially over the first 3 years, but at the same time, like 4 years from now, 5 years from now, if Purdy's playing at the level that he showed he can play at, it's going to be a bargain. Like that's what happens with these deals, rather than waiting and making him, play on a franchise tag and then be in a situation where he is breaking their back, on his contract.
Yeah, again, congratulations to Brock Purdy. Incredibly well earned by him. And it's worth pointing out, I hear Mina's concerns about the O-line. We may not be talking enough about the 49ers' chances, though, because according to our metrics at ESPN right now, after the schedule release, the 49ers have the easiest schedule next season in the NFL. We turn our attention now to the Patriots. You can see head coach Mike Vrabel out there at OTAs there in New England. He's looking to make his mark in year one with Drake May and company. Of course, OTAs beginning today. There's a lot to get to there. And now we welcome in Mike Reese, our Patriots reporter here. There's so much to talk about, Mike, but I'm really interested to know, what are his teammates saying about Drake May's work this offseason?
So the long answer short, they're seeing more of a leader. At this time last year, Drake Maye was really trying to blend in. He was showing reverence and respect for the veteran starter, Jacoby Brissett. Teammates say this time around, Maye is really taking the reins. He's trying to take charge. And veteran receiver Kendrick Bourne said he sees more comfortability from Maye and he sees more competitive spirit from Maye. And Bourne told the story of a recent practice when they were pushing the sled on the field and Maye looked over in Bourne's direction and he was imploring him to push it further, to see who could push it longer. And Bourne said that was one example that he's seen of a different Drake Maye this year.
We can't wait to see it all play out on the field. Certainly, we saw those great flashes from Drake Maye, Mike, as you know well, and now he's got another opportunity with a new head coach. Thank you so much for joining us here. Let's talk a little bit more about what has been seen out of Mike Vrabel. He spoke to the media today saying he's totally focused on this season, not last.
Somebody asked me, are you worried about what went wrong last year? Why the would I care about what happened last year?
You heard him say it. The Patriots' win total over at ESPN Bet Sportsbook for this upcoming season is 8.5. If they go over it, it would double their win total from the previous 2 seasons combined. The Panthers, the only team with fewer wins than New England since the start of 2023. So expectations pretty high in New England. The Pats currently favored in 11 of their 17 games in 2025 at ESPN Bet. They end up winning all those games. My goodness. Tim, you've really been the president of Drake Maye's fan club for a while. I don't blame you. It is well deserved. But what are your expectations for him heading into year 2?
I think he'll play great. I think we have to also put in context, yeah, we're celebrating the Mike Vrabel hire for the Patriots because we know his impact will be great. Josh McDaniels is the offensive coordinator. Josh McDaniels has been an incredible coordinator in the National Football League. That's a massive addition. But I still just think, too, like with Drake Maye, he's smart, he's tough, he's competitive. That translates, and that translates when you're coached well, and so you get Josh McDaniel. And then just in terms of, the team perspective, and you hear it a little bit there in the little clip from Mike Vrabel. He's smart, he's tough, he's well respected because he knows how to lead. And there's just an element of that that's going to change the culture in New England from a year ago. And they're going to do it, I believe, in terms of how it's coached at a high level. And they've already improved the talent. I believe, as you said, I believe they have a superstar at quarterback. It's why they were a terrible team a year ago. And I think I saw they're favorited in like 11 games that they're going to play this season already. Look, the expectation should be high because of the changes starting at the very top.
Wow, really?
Yeah, look, I think last year you'd see decisions in game from Jerod Mayo's coaching staff, and you'd give a side eye and say, that doesn't seem right. You check on Twitter, and it's all the people questioning, well, they shouldn't have gone for it on that one. They should have gone for it. You will not be questioning clock management or game management with Mike Vrabel. He is the very best in the sport at this. And he might have learned it from Belichick, but he does circles around Belichick now because that's how good he is and how respected he is. He also got his guy who handles all that back on staff from the Rams, who he had with him in Tennessee. And I think the Josh McDaniels thing is huge. Last year, Belichick and Mike Lombardi and a lot of those guys who were shown the door, they had their comments about the Jerod Mayo coaching staff and maybe the locker room, and maybe it wasn't as disciplined. You can't question a Mike Vrabel locker room. You can't question a Josh McDaniels offense. At the very least, the adults are in the building and the adults are coaching these players right now. And you cannot question the skins on the wall that these guys have between Vrabel and Josh McDaniels. You're in good hands, and you can't have everybody in the media questioning you Monday morning. They might, and they will. But I think there's enough credibility with those two coaches that you say, okay, at least we know that these guys know what they're doing.
Yeah, I've never met a bigger expert on the rule book than Mike Vrabel.
Hello, xin chào tất cả các bạn nha. Mình sẽ giới thiệu cho các bạn về kênh của mình và những video của mình cho các bạn biết được là kênh của mình làm